Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on this Committee of Education, February 5th, 2021, 3 p.m. We are in conference room 229. This meeting, including the audio and video of remote This meeting, including the audio and video of remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. This Zoom meeting and YouTube live stream event will include the 3 o'clock agenda for the Committee on Education. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at Monday, February 8th, 3 o'clock p.m., and a public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. I'd like to take this time to remind our testifiers that due to time restrictions on our hearings, we will be limiting testimony to 1 minute per testifier per bill. For the people participating remotely, all testifier audio will be muted and video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. When I call your name, staff will unmute you and your time will begin. After your minute is completed, staff will mute you so that we can move this hearing along in an orderly and efficient manner. Thank you. We start with Senate Bill 1271 relating to early learning. Establishes an early learning educator stipend program to be administered by the Executive Office on Early Learning to address the shortage of qualified early childhood educators in Hawaii. Requires stipend fund repayments for the early childhood educator stipend program to be deposited into the Early Learning Special Fund. Here to testify on Senate Bill 1271 is Lauren Moriguchi, Director, Executive Office on Early Learning. Lauren?
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. EOEL is in strong support of Senate Bill 1271. We thank the legislature for the passage of Act 46 last session, which increases access to early care and education, and for your recognition of the need for qualified early childhood educators in Hawaii. In 2018, there were 4,200 early care and education workers. By our current projections, we'll need to double our workforce over the next 12 years to reach the goal of expanding access to all 3- and 4-year-olds. This stipend program will help to increase the workforce by providing funds to cover tuition and fees while reducing financial barriers for those who are amongst the lowest paid workers. I'd also like to emphasize that this bill leverages private funding and doesn't require appropriations, as we recognize the dire economic situation the state is currently facing. Thank you for this opportunity to testify on this bill, and I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you, Lauren. Members' questions? If not, next to testify, Robin Chun, testifying for Kalanai Kilohana Early Childhood Education, Higher Education Faculty. Robin?
Hi, Chair. Robin is not on the Zoom call.
Thank you very much. Moving on, item number 2, Senate Bill 467 relating to the Board of Education, requires the Board of Education to hold no less than 6 community forums annually with at least 1 forum in each county. Requires the board to include an open forum for public comments on non-agenda items. Requires a report to the legislature on implementing open forums. We have written testimony only and no testifiers to speak orally. Members, any questions on this legislation? If not, moving on to item number 3. Senate Bill 1384 relating to education provides that the prohibition against serving 2 consecutive terms not to exceed 8 consecutive years pursuant to Section 26-34A, Hawaii Revised Statutes, shall not apply to to the representative of Hawaiian medium early learning providers term limit. Repeals on June 30th, 2025. To testify, Lauren Moriguchi, Executive Office on Early Learning. Lauren.
Thank you. Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. EOEL offers comments as this bill has not yet been considered by the Early Learning Board, or ELB. ELB is our governing board who represents the diverse field of early care and education in Hawaii. Therefore, the board's perspective on this bill is of utmost importance. Following the discussion at the next meeting on February 11th, we'll be able to provide more substantive comments, which are reflective of the needs expressed by board members. Thank you for your consideration and this opportunity to testify today.
Thank you. Lauren, we plan to move this bill along, and you can provide us those comments after the board has met. Members, questions? Next to testify, Leimomi Fisher, Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Leimomi, proceed.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. My name is Leimomi Fisher, Public Policy Advocate for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And OHA stands on its testimony in strong support of Senate Bill 1384, and we thank the committee for considering this bill to support Olelo Hawai'i medium providers and aid in the perpetuation and normalization of Olelo Hawai'i in our state, starting with our growing keiki. So we urge you to pass this bill, and mahalo nui again for considering it.
Mahalo. Members, questions? If not, members, that's all the oral testimony, and we have several written testimony that you may read. Moving on to item number 4, Senate Bill 1287, relating to the food service branch, requires the Department of Education Food Services branch to coordinate with the principals and vice principals of department schools to determine which school meal program offered by USDA is the best fit for the student body and campus of each school. We have one oral testifier, Randall Tanaka, Assistant Superintendent for Department of Education. Randy, please.
Hello, Senator Cherkidani, Vice Chair Kim. Thank you very much for this time. We stand by our testimony. We appreciate the opportunity to serve our communities, especially during this tough time, but we stand by our testimony. Aloha. I will answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Randy. Members, questions? If not.
Question.
Question. Drew. Senator Kanuha.
Thanks, Chair. Randy, I appreciate the testimony given by the department, but I appreciate the efforts to serve the meals to our kids during this tough time. I was just kind of there were some issues rolling out a lot of these programs in the beginning, especially this was came into play as we were going through especially my district, Kona and Kauia. Huge areas, the kids had to literally go to the schools, could take, 45 minutes to an hour to get to, certain schools. And, and I'm glad they did do pilot projects to send meals to the homes of the kids in certain instances. But, sometimes it didn't really all work together, and, how the collaboration with the principals in each school. I was just trying to, get a sense of how you guys, even though you said you collaborate with the superintendents or the CASs and then each principal, I didn't think that always happened.
So I will tell you that's a true statement. In the early periods when we were designing and responding coming out of the Easter break, there were constant discussions on where and when and how we rolled it out, some involvement with the CASs and the principals. And Hawaii Island has obviously some unique challenges just by distancing. So as we began to mature the program or getting in there, we expanded, and we had a number of discussions. out in Waimea, and a number of different places. So we began to broaden the program. The other thing that we learned from this experience is the single serve, to serve breakfast and the lunch at the same time so they wouldn't have to return. At the same time, about midpoint, Baylor University and the U.S. Department of Agriculture rolled out a plan to box meals and send directly. And that was very helpful, but there were some limitations to that program in terms of rural communities and qualifying, and the Department of Education had to apply for, and then the parents applied for after we got the qualified locations. So clearly a lot of learning during that period. Hopefully we don't go through this again, but the geographic dispositions of the schools we choose will be much broader, and the single serve will clearly help. We have had discussions about serving 3 or 4 meals at the same time, and that is also in the list of programs we would run. In Honolulu, it was less complicated because it was closer, but clearly a learning experience for us, and we will take all that into consideration.
Thanks, Randy. And what was the issues, with rolling out the meals that were sent to the families, the actual homes of the kids?
That was a program put together by Baylor University and the U.S. Department of Ag. It had some limitations on what areas we could do it. So Hawaii Island and Kauai was the 2 locations that we could do it in that envelope. And then timing, right? The application process, and sometimes by the time we got people applied, it was like 2 or 3 weeks, and that was a tough go. It had limitations on funding, but some of them, by the time it got rolled out, the program was done because they ran out of money.
Gotcha. And you can see the nexus for making this bill in the first place. But I just also want thank you guys for. Accidentally muted myself.
So
and I can totally see. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a, how should I say, it's a critical part of how we serve our communities, and especially the kids. So it is of high priority of the superintendent and the deputy and my staff in food service. So like I said, I hope we don't have to do this again, but we're better prepared.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Randy. Moving on to Senate Bill 1385 relating to education, requires the Department of Education to develop a reorganization plan to provide students and schools with centralized food and transportation services, requires the provision of locally produced food to increase in an unspecified percentage annually for 5 years. To testify, Randall Tanaka, Assistant Superintendent, Department of Education, please.
Aloha, Senator Kidani, Vice Chair
Aloha.
Kim. It is, how should I say it? This is something that should be a common practice for us. For a number of reasons, we haven't been as successful as we need to, but we are doing a recalibration on how we're going to go about doing this. A lot has to do with the arrangement with the farmers. And what I've come to learn is farmers want to farm. So this processing of paperwork, we're going to be much more aggressive with them and helping through that process. We're going to also work with the farmers to grow the stuff that our kids want to eat. And that's a relationship between not only what they grow, but what our recipes, our menus are like. So, and that has to be in alignment with the federal standards and the health standards that we put forward. We have nutritionists on board. We're in fact in the interview process for 2 more, which will help us be in alignment with that. But we will aggressively work with
Randy, you muted yourself.
sorry. But we're going to work real hard on it. We have targets. There's some internal alignments that we have to do from an accounting standpoint. So I know exactly what we're buying from who. We're working real close with our brokers, whether it be Ham's Produce or Waihata and the other collections across the state. But centralization is going to help us be more effective in that use of local products.
Thank you. Members, questions? Our next testifier is Micah Munikata, Director of Government Affairs for Ulupono Initiative. Micah?
Afternoon, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim.
Afternoon.
Micah Munikata speaking on behalf of the Ulupono Initiative. Just wanted to express our support for this effort. You know, it's been a long road with anything farm to school. And you know, you folks have definitely been at the lead of all of that, so truly appreciate your leadership, senators, in approaching this issue. Very promising words from the previous speaker, and you know, we hope that we can establish some sort of local sourced food goal within our statutes to really start to implement some of these things across the state. There's been a lot of great efforts in pilot programs in Kohala and even Mililani Chair in your district. So, I mean, there's been a lot of successful stories that can be said, and we'd just like to see this expanded statewide. So truly appreciate these efforts, and thank you very much.
Mahalo, Micah. Members, questions? Moving on to item number 6, Senate Bill 702 relating to education funding requires the Committee on Weights to submit a report to the legislature detailing any changes to the funding formula within 30 days of the change. To testify, Brian Hallett, Assistant Superintendent for the Department of Education. Brian, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Kandani, Vice Chair Mikado Kim, Brian Hallett, testifying on behalf of Superintendent Kishimoto. The department stands on its written testimony with comments, but I would note that we are asking for clarification on when the clock starts for submitting a report to the legislature, given that the Committee on Weights is not a decision-making body or final decision-making body, that they're required to propose recommended changes to the Board of Education for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We have no other testifiers. Members, questions? We'll address your issue, Brian, in our deliberation. Thank you. Moving on to item number 7, Senate Bill 468 relating to school impact fees. Repeals the school impact fee exemptions for non-residential development and housing subject to the transit accommodations tax when seeking development in a designated school impact district requiring county subdivision approval, county building permit, or condominium property regime approval of the project. To testify, Randy Tanaka, Assistant Superintendent, Department of Education. Randy, please.
Hello, Chair Kidani, Chair Kim, thank you very much. We stand by our testimony. As the superintendent has outlined, the impact fee is really to help build our schools in the areas of impact. So we do have some concerns, but we leave it to the wisdom of the committee to decide, obviously, but please note our testimony. Hello, thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Members, questions? If not, next to testify, Tom Yamachika.
Oh, sorry, Chair.
Oops, sorry, Senator
I have
Favela.
that for switching over. I got a question. Maybe I'm not too clear, but with the amount of development that we have in our community, you know, we could probably paint Campbell High School in gold. So, is this going to help any future development in the Kapolei region?
Senator Favela, thank you for the question. Impact fees come in two forms, in cash or in land. So the majority of our acquisition has been in land, which allows us to build the facility if we don't have the land. You know, so that's where the impact fee has come most often. We've We've come to learn that there are some restrictions on this impact fee, and the example I'll give you is Waipahu High School is trying to develop a health academy. And we were hopeful that some of that impact money could be used because it increases classroom and education capacity. Well, that funds we come to find has to be related to the TOD. And, you know, you can stand outside of Waipahu High School and look up and there's the rail, right? But Waipahu High School is not in the TOD zone, so we can't use that money. So we're working through some things. We'll find use for the money, but there's some unique challenges. But back to the point, most of the acquisitions we have had is in land.
Well, the reason why the reason I bring this up, is I know at one time, when each house was sold in Never Beach, it went into a highway and school improvement fund. I'm not sure where that went, and too many years have passed to even try to go look for it. But I'm bringing up the development in Hawai'i. They're paying $1,200 to $1,300 for every home to the DOE. And I want to know, is that for the new high school, the new middle school? I know they're building the elementary school now. But what about the existing schools that right now, that community and other communities are being impacted? They're not getting any funds.
Two things, let me get back to you on that, but from my first impression and understanding of it, it has to do with using the funds to build schools, fund schools, or get the real estate. And like I said, we acquire for more of that. Hawai'i is high on the list because we understand the growth in Kapolei Campbell community, and there is a great need for more classrooms. So let me get back to you on the specificity on what impact fees we have currently and where we expect to apply that. You should also know, you should also know as, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, I appreciate that, go ahead.
As the SFA comes into its being, we will be transferring that impact fee responsibility to the SFA as they develop the schools. So they will have the oversight of that fund.
Okay, the question that I need from you guys going forward with the DOE and the facilities and the land and the school and all the other great things that the developer wants to bless us with, can we work on capacity? Because, you know, we already knew 1990s that Campbell was going to be overcrowded. And here we are, 2020, and we just got a new building. Kapolei is overcrowded, and we know Senator Kadani's in the Lani, Waipahu, you know, so the capacity of the new high school, elementary, even the new middle school of Honouliuli, you look at that school, that's not big enough for that community. So some of the kids are still going to go either Eva Mackay, or what I heard, Eva Mackay, because Kapolei Middle School is going to go off a track, and some of those kids are going to go there. So Eva Beach in a whole, even though we know Honouliuli Middle School is in the Eva Beach 96706, is still going to be impacted by the developer. So can you please, can you find out, because Eva Elementary is getting dirty cracks, and I think they need to be looking into building more buildings for them and stop having portables. So the school is portable. So can you, Randy, appreciate it? I know you will. Thank you for this time, Chair, appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Next to testify, Tom Yamachika, testifying for Tax Foundation of Hawaii.
Hello, Chair. Tom is not on the Zoom call today.
Thank you, members. Further questions? Moving on. Item number 8, Senate Bill 703, relating to suicide prevention training. To testify, Heidi Armstrong, Assistant Superintendent, Department of Education.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani and Vice Chair Mercado Kim. I'm Heidi Armstrong from the Department of Education, testifying on behalf of Superintendent Kishimoto. The department stands on its written testimony supporting the intent of SB 703. The department currently operates under Act 270, which became Hawaii Revised Statute 302A-856. This statute already requires the department to provide youth suicide awareness and prevention training to teachers, teachers' assistants, administrators, and school counselors. The department recognizes the critical role of educators in addressing suicide prevention, and we do appreciate your attention in this area. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on this bill.
Thank you, Heidi. May I ask how much training is provided?
We have, every school can select, we do have a vetted list that has 5 programs that would meet this criteria. We vetted this list in collaboration with the Department of Health and the Prevent Suicide Hawaii Task Force. We're required to report, to give a report of September 15th of every year for the previous year's progress in this. So last year was the first year. Because of the pandemic and other things, we did extend the deadline for this, for schools to report on this to October of 2020. And we did have 186 of our schools, of the 257 schools, completing this training for the 1920 school year. Training did stop in the 4th quarter, which does impact our numbers. We are collecting data on the training for this school year, and we'll be ready to report it on September 15th of 2021.
Thank you. So how many programs? You said 5 of your programs would meet this criteria of this bill, but how many programs do you have?
There's 5 programs. There are several other programs that do qualify. They're just not on this list that was vetted by the Department of Health and that Hawaii Prevent Suicide Hawaii Task Force. That includes Cognito and Assist. So there's 2 additional programs that our schools are using that are not on the existing vetted list.
So, yeah, so a couple of as I look at your program, some are 2 to 3 hours. The Safe Talk, I don't know, you don't list the time. Youth Mental Health First Aid is 6 to 8 hours. Suicide Prevention 101 is 60 to 90 minutes. Persuade, Refer, Online Suicide Prevention Training is approximately 1 hour. So those first 2 would not meet the requirements of this bill. Are your principals and counselors required to take more than one of these courses, or only one?
They select from one of these courses, and we do have the list of the courses that they are using.
So do you have a breakdown of how many principals and counselors take which course?
Yes.
Would you provide that to this committee, please?
Yes, we'll definitely do that.
Thank you, Heidi. Members, any further questions? If not, thank you, Heidi. Moving on to item 9, relating to education, establishes criteria for industry certification awards to public high schools and appropriates funds to the Department of Education to incentivize public high schools to encourage students to obtain industry-recognized certifications, requires the department to submit an annual report containing specified information about the progress of the incentivization. To testify, Terry Ushijima, Interim Assistant Superintendent for the Department of education. Terry, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Makano Kim, and members of the committee. I'm Terry Shijima, Interim Assistant Superintendent with the Department of Education, testifying on behalf of Superintendent Dr. Kishimoto. The department stands by our written testimony and support the intent of Senate Bill 509. The department respectfully requests that in addition to the awards to the high schools, that the appropriation noted in the measure also provide time and resources to assist in modifying existing data collection systems in order to meet the reporting requirements in this bill. The department continues to be committed to strengthening and advancing opportunities for students to earn industry-recognized certifications. Thank you for your support in this endeavor. I'm available to answer questions.
Thank you, Terry. Members, any questions? If not, moving on to our final bill. Senate Bill 508 relating to education requires the Department of Education to establish and administer an ocean safety and stewardship education program for all fourth grade students. To testify, Terry Ushijima, Interim Assistant Superintendent for the Department of Education. Terry, please.
Thank you, Chair Kidani. Again, Terry Ushijima, Interim Assistant Superintendent, testifying on behalf of Superintendent Kishimoto. The department stands by a written testimony in support of the measure's intent and respectfully offers comments. Given the department's ongoing efforts to promote ocean safety and stewardship education and the flexibility for schools to design their own programs, the department respectfully suggests that this measure is not necessary at this time. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm available to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. How many schools offer ocean safety education?
We don't have specific data. However, annually, we do submit a memo that is distributed to our schools that remind them of the importance of ocean safety, and it also provides information on how to use one of the programs provided by our partners, the Ocean Safety and Stewardship Awareness Program by the Nakama Kai, our partner. And we have some schools that may participate in other programs, such as the Hawaii Aquatics Foundation. We know that in the past, Kailua Elementary and Like chose to use this partner as their choice to meet their school needs.
If you don't have the information, Terry, is it possible to get it from Nakama Kai?
The Nakama Kai is an online resource, and I have our our PE specialists who may be able to provide more information. Is that all right if I ask him to provide some information?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Hello, Chair and committee members. Yeah, so basically annually we have a memo that goes out promoting the Nakama Kai resource with the video and activity book, and we recommend that all fourth grade students view the video and do the activity book by the end of the school year. So that's kind of an annual memo that we send out to the schools. As far as we don't have a set data to look at that tracks how many schools actually administer it. We can look into gathering that information, but at this time we don't have that available as far as how many actually completed.
Yes, the committee would appreciate that information if you could gather it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So Terry, I guess I don't understand your comment that resources will be needed if you're already providing this through Nakamakai. I would suggest that maybe the city and county Ocean Safety Division would also be helpful and a resource to do these kinds of discussions with our fourth graders. Anyway, members' questions? If not, thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Okay, we've come to the end of our agenda. We are going to recess for decision-making.
One.
Reconvening the Committee on Education, Friday, February 5th, 3 o'clock agenda. Members, thank you for the discussion. For Senate Bill 1271, the Chair is recommending to pass with amendments, noting the suggestions from the Attorney General's office to amend Section 443B-9 to also allow a collection agency that is contracted by EOEL to collect a commission. Also, technical and non-substantive amendments. Questions, members? Not. Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Bill 1271 with amendments. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator De La Cruz.
Aye.
Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Madam Chair, all 5 members voting aye. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Senate Bill 467 relating to the Board of Education and requires the board to include open forum for public comments on non-agenda items. Recommendation is to pass with amendments, taking the amendments offered by the Board of Education in their testimony. Questions, members? If not, Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Bill 467. Is there any member voting no? Any member voting with reservations? If not, all 5 members voting in affirmative, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Senate Bill 1384 provides the prohibition against serving 2 consecutive terms not to exceed 8 executive years pursuant to Section 2634A. Shall not apply to the representative of Hawaiian medium early learning providers term limits. Members, Chair is recommending that we pass Senate Bill 1384 as is. Any questions? If not, Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Bill 1384. Any members voting negative? Any members voting with reservations? Hearing none, all 5 members voting in the affirmative, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Senate Bill 1287 relating to Food Services Branch requiring Department of Education Food Services Branch to coordinate with the principals and vice principals of department schools to determine which school meal program is offered by the USDA is the best fit for the student body and campus of each school. Recommendation of the Chair is to pass as is. Members, questions? If not, Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Bill 1287. Any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Hearing none, all 5 members voting aye. Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Senate Bill 1385 requires the Department of Education to develop a reorganization plan to provide students in schools with centralized food and transportation services, requires provision of locally produced food to increase in an unspecified percentage annually for 5 years. Recommendation of the Chair is to pass with these amendments. Clarify that centralization only applies to transportation services, not food services. However, report shall look at food service delivery models customized to the needs of schools broken down by complex area. Also, the report must include information on how reorganization will look for efficiencies by reducing food waste, increase school meal participation, and promoting a healthy menu. The report shall also include projected cost savings and increased student benefits such as healthier diets and increased nutrition knowledge. and also insert a 5% increase in locally produced food that is purchased for school menus until 2026. Members, any questions? If not, chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Bill 1385. Any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Hearing none, 5 members present, all voting in the affirmative. Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to Senate Bill 702, requires the Committee on Weights to submit a report to the legislature detailing any changes to the funding formula within 30 days of the change. Recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments to clarify that changes must be reported 30 days after the final report is made. Members, questions? If not, chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Bill 702. Any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Hearing none, 5 members all voting in the affirmative. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Senate Bill 468, relating to school impact fees, repeals the school impact fee exemptions for non-residential development and housing subject to this transient accommodations tax when seeking development in a designated school impact district requiring county subdivision approval, county building permit, or condominium property regime approval of the project. Recommendation of the chair is to pass as is, but noting in the committee report the concerns of the DOE regarding collection of the fees. Members, questions? If not, chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Bill 468. Any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Hearing none, all 5 members voting aye. Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Senate Bill 703, relating to suicide prevention training, requires 2 hours of annual in-service training in suicide prevention for all teachers, principals, and school counselors. Recommendation of the chair is to pass as is. Questions, members? Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Bill 703. Any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Hearing none, all members voting aye. Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Senate Bill 509 establishes criteria for industry certification awards to public high schools and appropriates funds to the Department of Education to incentivize public high schools to encourage students to obtain industry-recognized certifications. Requires the department to submit an annual report containing specified information about the progress of the incentivization. The chair is recommending that we pass this bill with amendments to replace DLIR on page 3, subsection B, with Hawai'i P20, and also making technical and non-substantive amendments. Members, questions? If not, chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Bill 509. Any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Hearing none, all 5 members voting aye. Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. For Senate Bill 508, last on the agenda, requires the Department of Education to establish and administer an ocean safety and stewardship education program for all 4th grade students. Recommendation is to pass as is. Members, any questions? If not, chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Bill 508. Members, anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? Hearing none, all 5 members voting aye. Recommendations adopted.
Thank you, members. This concludes the hearing of our Education Committee. Meeting adjourned.